The task of the leader.
Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCP, and he's been explaining to us, as you also heard on that original report. Okay, this is a challenge that you can't hear me at all.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, is this not part of the quality of service that we're talking about? That we don't want to be in this territory, haven't agreed that yep, we can go 50% more. Now here we are having these what look like telephony issues. You can't hear us. By the way, are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me now?
Yes, sure. I guess maybe in the next 3 months, next 6 months, we shouldn't be having this kind of challenge any longer. And it's part of holding them to account that we are saying.
Exactly.
Because we want a situation where we want our services to be top-notch. We want it comparable to anywhere in the world. And we know we have the capacity for that. So the increase that has happened definitely is a pain in the neck of every consumer. Consumers are not smiling at all.
At all.
Notwithstanding, like I said, it's better to make a little more sacrifice to get your service running and better than to have it collapse.
Indeed.
And we have seen the problem with a service collapsing in other sectors. We don't want a repeat of that in the telecom sector.
No, we don't.
Once beaten, they say twice shy. So Nigerians have had enough of services collapsing. Let us have our services top notch, and then let it serve the purpose. Let it be fit for purpose.
Let me bring on. I beg your pardon for interrupting. Let me bring on our first caller. Good morning, Mr. George, who has called in from Lagos.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir. Okay.
Uncle Yori, I'm surprised to hear the minister say that 50% increase is not a significant increase. 50% increase upon what we're already paying? I wasn't expecting to hear that from the minister. Where the problem lies is that the telcos, the equipment they are using, they are not expanding it, or they are expanding their subscribers every day. I did a quick check a few minutes ago, only to discover that MTN has more than 90 million subscribers in Nigeria. And in the whole of Africa, they have 126 million. So if you have 126 million in the whole continent, in one country alone, you have 90 million subscribers. When they started, during their first year of operation, they were having 20 million, 18 to 20 million subscribers. The equipment they were using to serve 20 million people is what they are still using to serve 90 million people. I think that is where the NCC should come in. Instead of allowing them to just be accommodating subscribers that they cannot take care of, let them grant licenses to more companies to come into the field, and competition will come in and it will bring the prices down. I don't think that what they are telling us is true. MTN is richer than any bank in Nigeria. Go and check their last year's profit report. So if they are saying they are making losses, how are they paying their staff? How is it that for 12, 13 years that they have not made any increase, they are surviving? So you can't tell a primary school child that one and he will believe you. They are not operating at any loss. They are making profit. Okay. But they are not expanding their facilities, their equipment. And that's where the issue lies. The regulator should ensure what the services they are offering us is worth the money. If you want to increase, why should you increase 50% at once? They should have mercy on people now.
All right, then.
NLC does not have the moral right to be complaining. On the other hand, they are the ones who wanted 650,000 naira minimum wage until it was eventually brought down to the level we are, from 30,000 to 70,000. Did they not expect that prices of other things will go up? You cannot eat your cake and still have it. So that does not justify the increase that we are experiencing.
Okay.
The NCC should do their work and make sure these people give services for what they are taking our money for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. Okay, then. Well, so, Mr. Jagu, you have it there. What can you tell us about the point that viewer brought up, that are we sure we've checked out all the presentation of these telcos, for instance? He cited in relation to one in particular and did make the allegation that is leading to my question that, look, the infrastructure they were using to service something like 18 million is what is still in place for around 90 million. I don't know if you can speak to those kind of figures, but they do say immediately that I hope they are not just swallowing whatever, that is, the authorities are not just swallowing what they have been told, but they have their own, methodologies for verifying and seeing how factual the positions are. Because if it should be that what you were using to service 18 million is what you're still using to service 90 million, I guess there's going to be a problem.
Thank you. The job of a regulator is a very difficult one. The job of a regulator is one in which you would need to assess every situation. It has a methodology. It's not a spontaneous thing, and it's not just a spur of the moment kind of situation. When there's always a method to that madness, because that kind of madness, and it's very simple. You would use some data, and it has to be empirical to every extent. It's very easy for one to sit down and assume that a number of things happen. But when you look at, or when you are faced with the actual operations, you would see that the situation is different. And let me also say that even as we speak, the regulator has a very huge task in one, ensuring that the people who are already serviced don't lose it. The second aspect of their work, of the regulator's work, is to also ensure inclusivity, to ensure expansion. As we speak, there are certain areas where you would go and the service is still very, very poor. Maybe the spread of the network, the various networks is very low in those kind of areas. And so if the kind of services we enjoy where we are in the part of our country will not be the same service maybe somewhere a man is enjoying at the maybe tail end of the southern axis of the country, or maybe at the tail end of the northern axis of the country. But as a regulator, it is your duty to look at all of this. It is your duty to also ensure that there is expansion in a manner that other Nigerians too would benefit from the kind of service we are benefiting from. So a whole lot of things are considered before decisions with respect to the kind of decision NCC just made is made. Right. It is not like I said earlier, figures are not conjured from the skies. It is figures that are available based on services that are being done and how are feeling the pinch.
Okay, let me bring on Yakub, calling out of Dokbemu. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chifiori.
Good morning.
And, good morning to your guys and the other side.
Yes.
Chifiori, for me, I totally agree with Mr. George. I already had some little thing to what the field and we see, and then you also not having very well. And then we are now saying that they were increased by 50%, and then the NCC is not telling us that they will approve that. Chiefly, it is only this country that, quote and unquote, all these private companies, they would beat we like a child, and then they would still tell us not to cry. And then the people that were there to help us, to assist us, I'm sorry to say this, it's like, and then your guys need to correct this. If I said it, it's like they are collude together and then change Nigeria. Why am I saying that? Chief, let me give you a typical example here. The example is NEC, this Nigerian Regulatory Commission, that we are telling us that we cannot be able to use our money to buy the meter, and then the NEPA people will come to remove the meter, tell us that the meter is outdated, and then they will not replace it. They will not tell us to go and use our money to buy another meter. Chief Judge, the example is that. So the people that were there to fight for us, they were not there to fight for us. Let me tell you, Chief Judge, as I'm talking to you now, this communication may break, and then they will still charge me. They will still remove the money as if that I enjoy the calling. Why can't they make this system work perfectly before the NCC approve that very particular tariff? So you should be able to give us the services before you say, okay, we approve the increment. What are you improving? So you are collecting our money to better your company.
But Mr. Yakub,
better your company, and then we get to pay for it.
But Mr. Yakub, Mr. Yakub,
yeah.
we have heard that all these presentations were indeed made to the authorities. They have evaluated it, everything that was presented to them, and have said, you're not going to get somewhere between 100 and even more than 100%, but we will grant you 50%. So it's like these presentations were made. We can assume that the authorities, the NCC, and even the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, they would have evaluated all of this and then decided that we'll give you 50%, not between 100 and over 100 that you want. What do you think of that, sir?
Yes, please, can I come in quickly?
Oh, have I lost Mr. Yakub? Okay, indeed. Please do. You just heard,
yes,
you heard the presentation of that viewer, and he feels that...
I want to respond. I want to have a direct response to one of the issues he raised.
Okay.
Which is the issue of replacement of obsolete meters and faulty meters.
For example, okay, he's gone over to another sector.
Yes, electricity distribution companies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in November last year, electricity distribution companies they issued an information that required electricity consumers to go online and register for them to be able to recover their obsolete and faulty meters at a cost. What we did as an organization that protects the consumer was to look at what the rule, the regulation says with respect to recovery and replacement of obsolete and faulty. And we realized for you to do that as an electricity distribution company, one, you must have the meters you would use to replace the obsolete ones on ground. Two, it will be at no cost to the consumer. On the 5th or 6th of November 2024, about 2 months ago, this year, the regulator, that is NEC, and then the representative in Nigeria, and we made it. And that is because both the two companies had actually set, I think, a 14th of November time frame for that to happen. But it was at our own intervention that didn't happen. And today, Nigerian consumers, electricity consumers in Lagos are still using those so-called obsolete meters. So to a large extent, we would not look at where the rights of the consumers are being undermined and then look the other way. We definitely would always ensure that we intervene when we need to. And like we said, the sorry situation about electricity, like we said during the, we have observed earlier, is not the kind of thing we want to happen in the telecom sector. When we speak like this, as Nigerians, we should also know that since 2013 to date, there had not been increase in the time. I would not say because to date there hadn't been an increase, there must have to be an increase. No. If they make a case for a legitimate case for increase, and our sister and our sister agency, and who is also their primary regulator, looks at it dispassionately and makes a decision. All we can do as a consumer protector is to ensure that whatever had been undertaken by the telecom operators are the things that they would do. For instance, the issues that border in the replacement of infrastructure, as somebody had alluded to earlier, issues that border on even customer service, all of those things are things we must hold them to account to ensure that whatever they had undertaken to do would be done. But in a situation where you are tasking somebody to do certain things and he's saying that, look, maybe for one reason or the other, I'm not able to do this, particularly when it's a legitimate call, you definitely will look at it. And I think that is what has happened. But one thing is, we would like to assure Nigerian consumers that we hold the telcos to account. We ensure that whatever they need to do, even certainly they must have to abide by regulations. They must also have to live up to the standards, the required standards as is expected of them. And these parameters are there. And these are some of the things that I've said that as a commission, we'll be working closely with our sister agency to ensure that these things are done and that consumers fare better in the next couple of months. We don't want a situation where things drag and then we all go down.
Okay, because to be fair, the mobile network operators themselves have hailed this move as a good way to start what they refer to as the recovery of the ailing sector. So that's the way they are looking at it. People are thinking that what is ailing in the telecom sector? Nothing is ailing in there. In fact, there's nothing but prosperity there, is the way most people will look at it when you look at all the kind of reports. Do you think people don't understand fully the functions of your agency, your commission, because from what we've heard, they would want you to, it would seem to me that they want you to support the Nigerian consumer that, maybe they're all Nigerians there. Maybe they all see what we're experiencing. Are those people not? In fact, somebody was a bit vexed at the minister saying that it was a modest increment. That, look, these people, don't they know what we have in our pocket, which is very little nowadays? So what would you say to those people who are saying that, as Mr. Yakub did, that you are not supporting us, you're supposed to be fighting for us, and we don't have anybody fighting for us?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. We actually don't want to begin to qualify the kind of increase we've had, whether it is negligible, it is modest, or it is high or low. All we are saying is if you make a case for an increase in tariff, because that is a regulated entity, and the law empowers the NCC to actually approve tariffs for telecom operators. So if they do whatever they are able to do and come up with certain figures, we'll be looking at those figures and saying, since Nigerians are paying for this service, you don't do it for them gratis. It's not like you render free service to Nigerians. They should be able to get value for their money. That is where we stand. And like my commission, like I said, like we give the instance of the electricity industry, we do this every day, even as we speak. Definitely as we're speaking, complaints will be dropping on our various platforms, online and even surface mail and all of that. So we try as much as possible to provide redress to complaints that we receive from consumers. And then some other things too, for a regulator like us, and that is exactly what we do, is to look at consumer detriments in every situation, because and what we consider to be a consumer detriment might not even look to the consumer himself like it's a detriment. Okay. It might not look like a risk. You know, it's like a child and a father. A child wants to climb because maybe he feels he enjoys some bliss from climbing and a host of other things. And then the father says, no, you don't have to climb because it is possible that you could fall from there and break your hand or your leg or even your head. So you don't need to climb. The child at that point will feel deprived and feel that maybe the father is beginning to make him not enjoy what he needs to enjoy. For us as a regulator, that's the kind of role we play. We are in the middle. We try as much as possible. We look at the supply side. If we say, okay, look, a supplier must not do this, and it affects the service you are receiving. Even you tomorrow, you will be the one to say, oh, it's these people that are responsible for this. If they had yielded, the supplier would have been able to supply me. But what we do and what we ensure we do from every day and on a daily basis to ensure that you get value for your money. Whatever you're paying for anything, you are able to get value for that thing. And we do just that. So, and a host of other things. There are a lot of background work we do that are not open and visible to the consumer. Part of it is even engagement with sister regulators like the NCC. Sometimes when we meet and we come out of our meetings, nobody will be smiling. The reason is we would have told ourselves the truth. And but those are not the kind of things we bring to the public to say. So
all right.
nobody that it's a very jolly good thing for us to preside over certain things and then just let go, maybe because definitely we are also consumers in our own respect.
Exactly.
We yes. So
so I suppose the point you've made, quite clearly is that the position we're in now regarding this tariff situation is not a position that was arrived at lightly. That all things were considered, and you've decided in your wisdom to peg it for now at a maximum, up to a maximum of 50%. And being positive-minded, you did say earlier that, look, you don't need to go all the way up to 50% for competitiveness. Some might even be saying that 40%, maybe even 35%. But I want to thank you very much, Mr. Ondaje Ediagu, the Director of Corporate Affairs of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Thank you very much for coming on and explaining this to us a bit better. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Our
Thanks.
pleasure.
Well, appreciate it.
All right, then. Okay. Well, that's our program today then. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.